If you are looking for a job abroad, you are in the right place. Welcome to Start Your International Career, your guide to finding a job abroad. In this episode, we have Carlos Baeza, an engineer who is currently working as Director of Global Procurement at Sonova, which is a medical device company in Switzerland, and has lived in the UK, in the Czech Republic, in Belgium, and now in Switzerland. Carlos, welcome to the podcast.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for having me.
It's great to have you because you have lived in many different countries, so I'm sure that you have a lot of tips for people who want to move abroad. But before we go into that, can you briefly explain what is it that you currently do at your job and what did you study?
Yeah. So what I study is originally my bachelor, or the original bachelor was technical architecture in V.I.E. And when I finished the technical architecture, the degree is when the crisis in Spain, it was happening, the construction crisis.
Mm-hmm.
So I decided to continue my studies in industrial engineering. And so that's the reason that I did this additional 2 years as a master and have the master of industrial engineering. Yeah. And currently I have the position of director of procurement at Sonova. So I'm responsible for part of the components that we are purchasing,
Mm-hmm.
and as well, of course, some part of the global budget of the company. Yeah.
Okay, I see. Thank you. So then, going back to your first steps into the professional world, you started in the automotive industry in Spain, correct? And you quickly moved abroad. If I'm not mistaken, you started at Renault, and only after that internship, you quickly moved abroad. So can you tell us about those first international moves?
Yeah. So when I was in uni, I had always the thought about, I like Spain, is where my family is, where my friends are. But I had always in mind that maybe Spain is not the best country for me. So that's the reason I decided to move in different countries just to test if it was the best country for me. So I started my professional experience, having one internship in Renault, in Valladolid, in my city, as a process engineer. And right after, once I finished my degree, I did an internship in Faurecia as an assistant for commodity buyer.
The automotive supplier.
That's correct.
Okay.
That's correct. And so it had the opportunity. So once it finished this, so I decided to move to the UK, first of all, with Faurecia as well. And it was thanks to, I think that I performed well enough to motivate British to have me there, and as well it was thanks to V.I.E.
The Voluntariat International, the French program.
Exactly, yeah.
Okay.
So it's very interesting program because at the end you have the chance to have a proper professional experience with a lot of responsibility. So it's different, or what I experienced in the internship in Spain and internship abroad is that the internship abroad, you have full responsibility. So from day zero, you have full responsibility. So I spent 1 year there in the UK, close to Birmingham. So UK was interesting country. From work perspective, it was amazing. I really like it because it was a real challenge, especially if it's automotive, I believe.
Yeah.
And after that, after 1 year, I moved to Czech Republic, same company.
Before we go into that, sorry to interrupt, I just want to mention the program that you joined, the V.I.E., the Voluntariat International. This is, for the listeners, this is a French program that allows people to work on French companies outside of France. Originally was designed for French citizens, and I've heard some people complaining that they give priority to French citizens. Of course, it's a French program, but still you can make it as a non-French citizen like you. And also in my case, for example, my first experience abroad was through a V.I.E. You can join this program up to 28 years old. And if you have not joined it once, of course, you can only do it once. And it must be a French company.
Yeah, French company with offices or facilities out of France.
Correct, yeah.
But the additional step that we have as Spanish is cannot be in Spain. It must be in no matter where is the country around the world, and neither France, neither Spain.
It cannot be in your home country,
No,
right? So if you're from the Czech Republic, it cannot be in the Czech Republic.
Exactly. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. I think that's a great tip. It's a great resource for people to
Yeah.
check out to move abroad because they give a lot of facilities.
Yeah. I would say that for the companies, the perfect. Why? Because they pay less taxes.
Mhm.
They bring someone that at the end is there is a process, so it's a hiring process. So they will bring someone extremely motivated. On a regular basis, you have someone that is extremely motivated, and you have for the worker itself or the one who is performing the internship, you have the possibility of experience a professional, and again with a lot of responsibility abroad. Yeah.
Yeah, and the salaries are not bad. They are not
No.
great, but as a first experience abroad, I think it's one of the best ways to, let's say, start like doing this transition into a full professional,
I
right?
agree. Yeah.
Cool, great. Thanks for sharing that.
Yeah.
So we were talking about your experience when you moved from the UK to the Czech Republic.
Yeah. So I moved to Czech Republic. Again, same company. More or less the position before it was as a site buyer in the UK. Now it's the same site buyer, but always focus on Kaizen or finding productivities, cost saving, and so on.
Process improvement.
Exactly. Yeah.
And
From procurement side.
from procurement side.
That's correct.
And because I remember you mentioned something that you earned your position with the British. Did you do something that made you stand out? What I want to understand is, did you have a lot of competition to move from Spain to the UK? How did you convince them?
No, so I would say that one, it was because me, and the other one, it was because the boss that I had in Spain. Why it was because me? Because during my time in Spain, I found very good numbers for, again, in Spain, I was focused as well in finding productivities and cost saving. So I performed quite well there, having in mind and always that for a massive company that they are being in automotive sector, how slowly they are moving to find a saving or a productivity in short term is very good. So these big companies is quite difficult to move and to try to find validation from upper level. So this was the reason that I was able to convince them in that way. And the other one, it was my manager. So in the previous years, she sent another guy who performed super well. He's a friend of mine that he used to work there as well. And the British, they understood that, okay, then maybe this is a good school. So that's the reason.
All right, okay.
So at the end, I would say that it's a combination of your pure effort and as well the connection that you have.
The network. Yeah.
Exactly.
Absolutely. Yeah. Everyone I've brought to the podcast, at the end of the episode, we all agree on the same, that if you don't have a network, is 10 times more difficult to get anything, especially if you move abroad. If you have no one. Yeah, good. So then from the UK, you moved to Czech Republic, and I guess you did something similar. You earned your position to move to the Czech Republic.
Yeah. So in the UK as well, in the UK, I think that I was even more deeply, with more focus on finding productivities. And the plant in Czech Republic actually is well known for the leader that they have, that he's very focused on finding productivities and cost saving. So as well, it was a win-win for both parties.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did you want to move to the Czech Republic for anything specific related to the job, or just in your search to look for the perfect country to live in?
Okay, so what I can say, at least my experience in the UK, it was from professional point of view, it was amazing. From social life, I didn't enjoy that much this country.
Which part of the UK were you based?
North of Birmingham. It's a small village called Fratley.
Okay.
Yeah. So I decided to move to Czech Republic initially because the plant, it was close to Prague.
Uh-huh.
So having, at the end, I think it's a balance between what is your expectation as well to have social life. And you cannot be always super eager to have the best position and not enjoying your free time, let's say in that way.
Yeah.
So, and in Czech Republic as well, it was great. From social point of view, it was amazing, from work as well. So, I end my time in there. And it's when, as well, it was 1 year. So 1 year in UK, 1 year in Czech Republic. And it was in Czech Republic when a recruiter contacted me for Toyota. So
okay. So you were not looking for that change
No.
to Toyota afterwards?
No.
It was a recruiter that contacted you?
Actually, I remember that he contacted me first in June, July, something like that. And I mentioned to him that it's super interesting because everyone, if someone that he is here in this study in industrial engineering, always is in mind Toyota methodology, blah, blah, blah.
Yes.
So I mentioned to this guy, I remember at the time, yes, I'm interested, but I just moved to Czech Republic and I make a commitment to this position. So even though it's very interesting, I don't want to move right now. So I say, but maybe in the future I will contact you. So I have already the contact via LinkedIn. And in October, when it was 2017, I contact them. I go through all the steps in the recruiter process. Finally, I started in January 2018.
Were you doing something to stand out in LinkedIn? Why did that recruiter reach out to you if you were not? Because for context, Toyota, where you later on worked, was based in Brussels, in Belgium. This is where they have their headquarters. But you were not based in Belgium. So were you doing something? Were you posting actively?
Not really.
Did you apply ever to the Toyota application portal?
Not really. I think it was this approach. It was random approach from my side. I'm pretty sure that this recruiter knows which kind of profile Toyota is looking for. So maybe I was in the radar. But no, I didn't do anything special.
All right.
Yeah.
That's the best way, right, to get a job.
Yes.
You don't need to go after that. But you did have to go through the normal application process after that, right?
Yeah. And I will say that the Toyota one, it was the longest and the
hardest.
Yes, it was very picky.
I know, I've been there.
Yeah.
So your period in the Czech Republic ended. You ended on a high note, let's say, because you liked your job and you also like the social life. One point that you mentioned that I think it's really interesting, maybe for people that don't work in manufacturing, they don't realize, but for people who work in manufacturing, it's difficult to be living in a place with a lot of social life and at the same time being close to a factory. Yeah. Normally factories are not in city centers, they are not in cool cities where the party is, where everything happens. Normally they are in the middle of nowhere or in villages. So if you are an engineer working in manufacturing, I think it is something to value if you already have that. Please be mindful if you change. Yeah. And for the people that are studying engineering and want to dedicate themselves to manufacturing, take this into account. Because the job is not everything.
Especially, I would say, automotive. Automotive, they are in nowhere always.
The middle of nowhere. I mean, it's cost savings, right? So
absolutely.
Good. So tell me a bit more about that application process in Toyota. Did you do something that helped you stand out? Any tips for people who would like to apply to Toyota?
I would say that you need to prepare your interview. It's true that the recruiter that I had, he guided me super good. So I believe that he was collecting the question after every single person that he introduced into Toyota. He was grabbing the typical question that Toyota was making to the candidates, and he guided me. I would say, I don't remember the name of this guy, but the best recruiter ever. because he guide super well. I more or less which kind of question he will ask me, and I was preparing for. There were 3 interviews. First one, it was manager level, I think via Teams or Skype or something like that. Second one, it was with more audience, I think till senior manager. And the third one is when they invite you to go to Toyota headquarters and you have the meeting with a GM.
For the business case.
That's correct.
For the exercise, okay.
That's correct.
So that recruiter was guiding you and helping you with the typical questions that this recruiter have heard from other candidates. And that's great. Yeah. In my case, actually, now that I remember, something similar happened. I mean, at least in the first interviews, we're saying, please be aware of these kind of questions, of these kind of topics that are popular, let's say. Yeah, true.
Yeah, but I would say that especially for this kind of companies, when I say companies, is Toyota mindset or Japanese and so on, is to be always frankly. So if you don't know something, you say, I don't know. But being honest on your answers and be accurate. If you really know, being accurate. Because you know that these people, they know more than you. When it's coming any industrial question, let's say. So
that's a good tip for people who are in the process of applying to Toyota or actually in any of these kind of companies, like you said. You need to be either specific if you know it, but like super specific, or if you don't know it, I think what it's valuable is that you have a good way of reasoning, good logic. Yeah. So, okay, maybe you don't know it, but you know how you would do it if you had the data or something similar. Like these kind of questions from the consultancy companies like McKinsey, this kind of stuff, like how many windows are in New York? Okay, I don't know the number, but this is not the answer. The answer is the logic of what would you do to calculate that. Yeah. So I think something similar happens in these kind of interviews.
Yeah, and I will give a tip related to that, and it will be, so in these kind of interviews at the end, they used to ask, okay, do you have any question? Say, bring in this question. So you asked me this, I didn't have the answer, so what is your opinion? So try to do not forget what they are asking you, just to try to rely on your answer. And if you don't know it, just ask him directly. I think it's interesting, and it's a signal to the other party to say, okay, this guy didn't leave it. So he continues having this in mind, and he's interested to find the best solution. Yeah.
That's a really good one. I have never heard that. And it's a really good one, because as you said, you show interest and you show that question, it was not a positive point for you. But you can make it positive at the end.
Exactly.
I didn't know, but tell me, how would you do it? I want to know. I'm interested. Because it's a question that probably you will have in your role, if you get the role.
Yeah.
So, okay, good tip.
Because at the end, when you're working, so in my case, when I'm working and I don't know the answer, the only thing that I will say is, I don't know the answer, give me one day or give me a couple of hours, something like that. But my commitment is to bring this answer into the table.
Yeah, I agree. And it's the best way to go. And you could, I mean, in my experience at Toyota, I could also see that. Like, people have no shame in saying they don't know something.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know. As you said, give me one day, I'll get back to you by the end of the day. Absolutely. One tip from my side, one of the questions I used to ask at the end of the interview was, how does the ideal candidate or the perfect candidate look for you? Or, for example, what skills does the perfect candidate have? So they can tell me briefly, how does the candidate look like? And then I see from my interview if I didn't feel any of those points. So, for example, they say A, B, and C. And I know during my interview, I only showed A and B. And I said, okay, before we finish, let me talk about this because... And then you show that. You show the missing point. Good. All right, I like that tips part. Then we have advice for people that want to enter into Toyota. And specifically talking about Toyota, what did you like the most? And what did you not enjoy that much?
The most, it was that, it was a fantastic school. So I learned a lot. Especially I was in a buyer position. So what I learned a lot is the way to communicate ideas, because I had to report a lot with the A3 report, the typical one. So the way of communication and the process to tackle a problem. So background, definition of the problem, target, countermeasures, follow-up. So to have, I would say, or some of my friends, they told me that I am quite strict in the way of processing as well, how I write the mails. But I think in a professional environment, when you need to address to top management and so on, and they receive hundreds of thousands of mails, you need to be very clear and specific, mentioning what is your question. If they are able to answer this question right after reading it, and they don't need to read the background, but just to have always the same structure and the way of communication and so on, I think that helps me a lot how I am right now and performing in my current position. The thing that I like the least, so I would say that Toyota, and it's normal, it's a big company, as many others, is super strict. That the standards of works are like this, they work like this, and if you want to have a change, you need to make the change, and everybody in the company will accept this change. And we are talking a company that is, I don't know how many employees, 300,000. So thinking out of the box, it was very difficult, and I consider myself very creative of trying to tackle the problems with the different angles. And it's true that in Toyota, it was very strict how to tackle and how to solve the problem. And it was conflicting with my way of working. And as well, so as I mentioned, I studied industrial engineering, and I was having a buyer position. So I was reporting more or writing more in an Excel rather than thinking by myself. And I get a bit frustrated at that time for that. Yeah.
I see. First, I agree on your point that Toyota is a great school. I think I have learned there more than I ever learned in any other company. You learn that there is a way of doing something in a standard way. Like no matter what you're doing, no matter how difficult you think the process is, you can standardize it. What cannot be measured cannot be controlled. That's something that you learn in Toyota for good. And then coming back to your point on the negative side, it is true that it is difficult to change things when you have a huge company like that, which strives for continuous improvement, but at the same time, you have a big approval or long approval process. I agree. But from my side, I only have good things to say at Toyota. It was a great school. Talking about so many different countries, I cannot help but asking you about languages. Did you need to learn any language to get to those roles, or you learned on the go? How did you manage?
So before I went to the UK, I was able to speak English, but not with the Brummy accent.
Not with the British, from Birmingham.
So the accent from Birmingham is, I would say, one of the toughest. So actually, when I started, I spent 1 year, and I remember that one guy, when I left the UK, I couldn't even speak with him. So he was like a typical old guy, super smoky, and he had the same tone, even though when you were asking him, I cannot understand, can you say that in another way or something like that? He was always mentioning the same way. And so with this specific, I remember this guy, it was an engineer. With this specific person, it was okay, please send it to me via mail. But for the rest of the people, it was, so my experience in the UK was amazing because I learned a lot. I was working in English, and living in English for the 6 first months. Why? Because I was sharing the apartment with British people. So at the end, I remember the first month I had headache. So I can tell you, I can remember that I had headache for the first month till your brain gets used to hear only this language and so on. I would say this English for sure. Well, when I moved to Czech Republic, it was funny because I was so motivated to learn Czech. But when I speaking with my colleagues, they told me, why? There are only 8 million people speaking this language. It's so difficult. So I gave up. Very easy.
So in the Czech Republic, you were working fully in English?
Yes. Okay.
And you were already prepared with your experience from Birmingham. That was a good school as well.
Yeah, they were at the beginning. I lost it absolutely, the British accent. But when I moved to Czech Republic, I remember that they were laughing at the beginning because it was
because of their
guy.
accent. You picked up the Birmingham accent.
I had the Birmingham accent.
The Birmingham accent, I think, is the one similar to the one in the series Peaky Blinders.
Absolutely,
right?
Yeah,
that's the one.
Exactly. That's that one. That one.
Tough.
Yeah. In Brussels. And so in Brussels, it's true that at work it was English full time, but it's true that in the city I learned French because I was doing as well classes French.
But you got the job only with English. You didn't
Correct.
need to learn French before.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, and here in Switzerland, I'm trying. I was thinking to say hardly, but it's not that. It's not right.
You need to be honest. We say it in the beginning.
Absolutely. German, but it's quite tough. I'm planning to give them another chance, but especially with the Swiss German, it's quite challenging.
So also to get your job here in Sonova, it was English. Required, only English.
Yeah. I was lucky to have this job because at that time I had the guy who hired me at that time, again, my manager, he was half Mexican, half Swiss. So with him, I was speaking Spanish, and I think that because this cultural link, I had this position. So another tip that I think is important is before you have any interview with no matter who is, or the recruit is mentioning that you will have a meeting or the interview with someone, ask always who is this someone. And then you can check from where is this person from, because culturally speaking, you can make links. Yeah. So for Spanish as me, I believe that it's easier to have link or to motivate more the guy who is going to interview me if he's Spanish, or maybe if he's Italian. If you have the chance to speak in Italian and speak in French, even though the interview is going to be in English because it's the language of the company, to try to find links, I think is the best.
Cannot agree more. Cannot agree more. In the end, it's people, right? Okay, you say you apply to this company, but the person who hires you is a person with his or her feelings.
Yeah.
And with a citizenship, with a language, and if you're able to connect on another level, not only on, let's say, on a logical base, because your CV has 1, 2, and 3, and they require 1, 2, 3, but because that person maybe shared some jokes with you, or you had a good time together, or you had something in common, you increase your chances like 10 times. It is something I didn't do in the beginning of my career, like what you just said. It's a good tip, which is, okay, who am I going to meet at the interview? So you don't go blind. It makes sense, right? But you only discover that after some time. And then you can do your research, because in LinkedIn today, I mean, everyone has LinkedIn. You can check their profile. You can find common links. And one tip that I think it's something I didn't have in the beginning of my career is every advantage that you have use it. As you said, if the person interviewing you is Spanish and you are Spanish, okay, use your Spanish. If you have a lot of money in life, use your money. Don't be ashamed that you were born with a lot of money. If you are attractive, okay, use that sex appeal, whatever, but use it. You don't need to make life difficult.
Yeah, absolutely.
Use the cards that you've been dealt with.
Yeah.
And talking about Sonova, so first, why did you decide to move to Switzerland? Because you were at that time in...
So when I finished at Toyota, I decided to have a break. So in December 2019, I decided to resign and travel a little bit in South America. So, but I was unlucky enough that in 2020 COVID happened. So I was traveling. My plan it was during 3 months, and finally I had to do 2 and come back to Spain. And in Spain, I was studying at that time the PMP, Project Management Professional. And again, I consider myself quite creative. So at that time, I built a startup with some friends because the problem that I have at that time, it was how to print my notes to study because I didn't have a printer in my house. So I built a startup that at the end didn't go that well, but I can say that I learned a lot. So during this 2021 is when I was working for this startup, and in the same time I joined another company in Spain, in Madrid. I was working for V.I.E,
the train company.
That's correct. Yeah. So I joined them, and in summer 2021 I moved to Switzerland. The reason I moved to Switzerland is because my ex-partner, she was living here already. So since I left actually Toyota, I was applying to come here to Switzerland. I was having always in mind Switzerland, Austria, and France because I really like mountains. So it wasn't because Switzerland, it was my country. No, because I really like being around mountains. So that's the reason I applied there. And it's true that during COVID time, it was very, very difficult to find a job because everything it was in standby. But yeah, finally I applied in summer 2021. That, in my opinion, it was very, very risky from my side because I had a good position in Madrid in a very good company, I believe. And I moved to Switzerland with a temporary contract, 6 months. So, and understanding that I didn't know anything about Switzerland, I didn't know how the visa works. I didn't know because it's not part of the EU. So I was quite afraid, but I decided to go as well because my ex-partner was living here, but just to force myself. Because during the time that I was in Spain, always I didn't mind to move from one country to another one. But the problem, it was when I went back to Spain, I get so relaxed. And it was very challenging for me to move abroad again. Yeah. But yeah, I think it's needed to force yourself. Otherwise,
that's a good point. I didn't think about that. Not a lot of people spend some time abroad, then come back and then move abroad again.
Yeah.
Normally, people that come back for good.
Yeah. Yes.
They want to stay. Okay. And also interesting that you were not looking 100% for Switzerland because it was your target, ultimate company, country. Normally, people who want to come to Switzerland have one goal in mind, and it's Switzerland because of several different reasons. But for you, it wasn't like that. I understand that also the application process was difficult for you. Was there any specific challenge?
No. I would say that the most difficult challenge, it was the mindset to again go abroad. I remember it was tough. I was deciding for 1 or 2 weeks, I think, sleeping, thinking about, waking up about that. But yeah, for the process, I would say that it wasn't.
It was okay. You didn't need to send a lot of applications, prepare a lot of interviews.
So in the past, as I mentioned, and I applied for many, many positions, and all of them failed. So more than 200, 300, 500. So
I consider that a challenge.
No, yeah, but
you're being modest.
But not that for because I received so many no's.
Uh-huh.
So I started to apply when I left Toyota. So during that year, I was applying, even though when I was in South America, I was applying with a mobile phone. But for me, apply is not a challenge. A challenge is when they say to you, yes, you need to come. And you need to figure out, so is the correct decision, what I need to do, what is the bureaucracy, and so on. Apply. So at the end, you get, at least in my case, I get used to have several no's. At the end, if maybe I was not lucky enough during that time, but for me, mentally speaking, to receive no's, I didn't suffer.
Okay.
I suffered from the point that at that time it was with my ex-partner. I say, okay, this is boring to apply and so on, but not from this perspective.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you see it more as a life decision, what was difficult, rather than the process itself. The process, you said, you knew you had to do it, and that's it.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what advice would you give to people who want to come to Switzerland?
So from my sector, because depending of the sector, I think that changed a lot. If you are in finance, maybe you must know German if you are in the German area, or French if you are in the Francophone area. I think, again, the connection might help a lot, but it's true that Switzerland is quite disconnected from Europe. I think there are not that many people, when I'm speaking from my side, is Spanish people moving here to Switzerland rather than France or Germany or the UK. So there, to these countries, it's easier to move. Mm-hmm. To Switzerland is to find a good connection and to differentiate your curriculum or the way that you interact with the person more than everything else. So in my interview, I can tell you that it was very weird, this guy. And after that, I realized what he was looking for. So at the end, in procurement, you need to deal with sales guys, that they are very smart as well. So at the end, you need to make sure that you are able to answer whatever is asking you. Mm-hmm. So I remember that in this interview, it was the Mundial so it was the Mundial, and it was the football match of Spain versus Switzerland the previous week. Mm-hmm. And Switzerland lost against Spain. And I remember that in this interview, that I was explaining, so my CV is this, I've done that, blah, blah, blah. And after this 10-minute speech from my side, this guy answered a question to me. Okay, Barcelona or Real Madrid?
Like
and
that?
It was like, fuck, what is going on? So my brain collapsed, saying, okay, what is he asking me and so on? And I knew that the match of, I don't follow football, first of all. So so the match between Spain and Switzerland happened the previous week, and I didn't know if he was supporting heavily Switzerland. I said, okay, I need to answer, I don't know. What I answer is, no, I don't like football. What I like is a real sport, that's rugby. So for me, I don't know, in other profiles, maybe in other profiles like finance and so on, you need to be very strict and so on. But in engineering, in automotive, medical devices, when engineering is part of it, we need to consider ourselves a bit nerdy. And this kind of small jokes and so on to breaking the ice, I think is nice. And he was laughing.
I
was
that.
laughing. Yeah. And this, when I finally arrived here to Switzerland, he mentioned this to me. So I heard you because you were fast answering something that collapses your brain. So being fast mentally, because at the end, Switzerland is the dream for many, many people. So around the world, they will try to apply for these kind of positions. Yeah. So, and I'm pretty sure that my CV is not the best one. I'm 100% sure. There are thousands of people better than me. But the difference is with these small details, making the link with the guy who was half Mexican, half Swiss. So it was the Latin topic there in between. And as well, being different. Being different and as well honest.
Being different and being yourself, right? Because at the end, you win when you are yourself. When you fake a different profile, people can see it through. And that's if we talk about the interview part. And if we go one step before to getting interviews, because you were saying you received a lot of no's. So one advice to people to get interviews or to improve their chances to get interviews in Switzerland, like any specific format of CV, any strategy of applying?
So here in Switzerland, so same as in Spain, I think is very structural. So not a lot of lyrics and a lot of text and so on. Here in Switzerland, they appreciate to have text. So to have at least what I was speaking with some recruiters as well, they were mentioning to me that I need to explain better what I'm doing in a CV. No matter if it's 1 page, 2 pages, 3 pages, I had to go in detail and mentioning what I have done before. It depends again if you're in the German area or French or Italian. I believe at least for the German, it's not that needed to have a photo on it, as far as I know. I'm not sure.
In my case, it was the opposite, actually. It was being concise with 1 pager or maximum 2 pages, photo. And what you say is a good point. Like, they like structure, but they also like well-written sentences.
Yeah.
They like you to be precise, and they like you to explain briefly, but with enough detail, what did you do? Yeah. And not only what did you do, but which problem did you solve?
Yeah.
Like, you cannot just say project management, for example.
Yeah.
No, you need to say which project did you manage, how did you approach the project, and what outcome, what benefit did you get to the company in the end? Or what was the problem that you solved, basically?
Yeah, I think depending of what is the seniority of the applicants or the position, sorry, I think you need to go more in detail about your experience. I think the experience values more than a CV itself or a studies, let's say, sorry. Yeah,
I agree. And now that you mentioned seniority, I think one piece of data that will be really helpful for people who want to come to Switzerland is what to expect in terms of salaries. So, for example, in your case, what would you say in the medical device industry, of course, what would you say is a salary range for a director?
Yeah, so for director, I would say, depending of the bonus, and I would say that the total, what I know is around 150 and 200,000 per year.
Depending on the company and your seniority.
Yeah, right? Yeah, and depending of the sector. So what I say is
for medical devices.
Yeah, I would say that. Yeah.
Okay, thanks for sharing. Then you were briefly mentioning, just to confirm, you say that having experience is better than having any studies or certificate to get a job here.
Absolutely. Yeah.
All right. Okay. Then, having talked about so many countries and about specifics about the jobs, I want to ask you what was the best and the worst. For UK, we've covered. For Czech Republic, we've covered. Now, I want you to quickly explain for Belgium and Switzerland what was the best and the worst for you.
Yeah. For Belgium, Brussels, the best, the company itself, Toyota. So it was amazing to learn, I would say.
But more about the country itself. Like
the country.
Imagine it's a different company.
Yeah. The international environment in Brussels. Actually, one friend that we have in common, she mentioned once to me, so it's a good part, but as well as a bad part is Brussels is like an airport because there are many people that they are going because the European Union, the Commission and so on, and there are people that they are going out. So you have the chance to exchange experience with many people. So this is nice. And I have a very, very good friends that I I have it because this kind of situation. It's a pity that after that they are leaving because they are for 6 months, 1 year, same as me. But I still having it. Yeah. Bad part. Well, Brazil is a bit messy.
In what sense?
And messy. So, it's a bit dirty.
In every sense.
Yeah. The taxes are super high. For me, super high. And as far as I know, and you can correct me if I'm wrong or someone else, but I saw it very, very unfair that the regular employees as me at that time, or many people that they are working there in different companies, they pay a huge amount of taxes versus the people who are working in the parliament and the commission. And they pay almost nothing, the administrative taxes. For me, I didn't like this. So this experience that it's like different societies, let's say.
Yeah, different classes.
Yes.
Yeah. I also had some friends when I was living in Brussels, some friends that were working in the European Commission, in the Parliament, and it's what you said. They had lower salaries, but their gross was their net.
Yeah.
They were paying zero taxes, really. And then you see your pay slip, and you see how much taxes are you paying, which in Brussels was almost 50%. Was a bit less, but a lot of money that you were paying, and it was difficult to cope. I think these people are all around Europe. Like, it's not only in Brussels that people from the European Commission and the Parliament are based where they pay zero taxes, but also in other countries. The thing is, in Brussels, you can see the difference because a lot of people are working in the European Commission and the Parliament, and a lot of people are normal employees, let's say.
Yeah.
So,
but I will say what I know is that they have a good salary as well, depending of the position. Yeah. So
especially if you pay zero taxes.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't know zero taxes. I had in mind 12%, like administrative, but maybe. Yeah, I don't know. Yeah.
Could be something really low.
Yeah.
They have
comparison with. So as far as I know, Belgium is the country in the world with a higher percentage of taxes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I didn't know that one, but it could be one of the highest for sure.
Yeah.
For reference, a person in the European Commission or the Parliament, I think, could make 7, 8, 9K per month net. So that's a lot, especially for Brussels, which is not as expensive as Switzerland.
Yeah.
Okay, and then we talk about Switzerland, best and worst.
Best. As I mentioned, I love mountains. I love going outdoor and so on. So here's absolutely amazing because you have, for example, in my case, I'm a big fan of ski touring during winter and alpinism during summertime. So you have everything. And on top of that, I'm registered in the Expat, so in the Swiss Alpinism Club. So you can, so they organize the adventures and so on. So it's everything. Yeah.
So you're applying for that Swiss citizenship almost, if you are part of that club.
Yeah, for that I need to learn the German. So far it's challenging.
Okay.
And the worst, sometimes I would say that in all countries that I've lived, the Swiss people are the coldest ones.
Yeah.
It's difficult to approach and so on. But it's true that once you break the barrier between, they are lovely. They are super nice. But it's quite difficult because here, during the evening time, the majority of them, they remain at home or so they don't interact that much with the rest of the people. That's true.
Sad to hear that. My experience is different, but I think, everyone's experience is different. Yeah. In my experience, they are really welcoming and really nice, like very friendly, but it's difficult to make a real friendship with them. It takes a lot of time. Like they can be the nicest person, but you will stay there as a colleague, as a person from the outside. Yeah. But it is true that I don't speak their language. I don't speak Swiss German. So I imagine myself in Spain, if I had someone from the outside trying to be my friend and speaking only in English, it would be difficult. Not saying impossible, but yeah, that one's tough.
Yeah.
All right. One deep question. If you look back, is there anything you would have done differently?
No. No, I think I am as I am right now because my experience in the past. Sometimes I didn't spend a very good time in the UK, in Belgium, in Czech Republic, but at the end I think it's maybe a typical comment and so on, but I feel it and I lived and I believe that is correct and real, and it's the bad experience they are making you greater. Yeah. So, and I know that I'm as I am right now because the bad and good experience. But I will say that I will put more emphasis to the bad things that happens to me, that now I can face the problem in a better way.
Yeah, that shaped who you are.
Yeah, because one of the things I remember from the Czech Republic, for example, bureaucracy. I had to buy a car because, again, the factory was close to Prague. And the bureaucracy there, it was insane to buy a car and to register. And they don't speak English. They speak Czech. So I was even thinking of buying a car in Spain, moving there and so on. I spent a very, very bad time because of bureaucracy. And now, for example, in Switzerland, it's super easy, the bureaucracy. It's true that sometimes you need to speak with people that maybe they don't speak that well English. But
these kind of things, I think more and more about them. Like when you face these kind of situations and you're by yourself, you have no one to help you, you're in a different country, another language, another law, another everything, and you manage to get by, then that shapes you as a person. You know, you can do anything that you want. You're a different person. So I highlight what you just said about all the bad experiences that make the person that you are today. Yeah. And that links with another question that I have for you, which is, if you had to convince someone who is still undecided about moving abroad, how would you convince that person?
Move it. No, I mean, so the first thing that if someone is here and someone wants to move abroad is because learning. I wouldn't suggest anyone to move to whatever is the place, Switzerland, Dubai, or Singapore, wherever is the place, because of the money. Because the money will not make you, I believe that you will be richer because of experience rather than because the money. Mm-hmm. I've never moved, so it's true that mentioned maybe I'm saying this and I'm living in Switzerland and having a good salary and so on, but if I have the chance or any project is coming to my table and it's super interesting and it's in another country, whatever it is a country, maybe in Europe, because I have family in Spain and for me it will be quite pity to move in another continent, I wouldn't mind. If it's interesting for me, I've never moved to a new place because money. I always moved because it was interesting, a new challenge, or because someone or something was waiting for me in this place.
Okay. So your advice would be move abroad because you will learn more than you can ever imagine if you stay in your place.
Absolutely. So the reason, or one of the reasons that when I came back to Spain and I was working in Madrid, even though the project was challenging, for me it wasn't challenging enough. Mm-hmm. Because I believe that you have two types of challenge at work, the technical challenge and the cultural challenge. So if you're working in Madrid, Valladolid, where is my city, Barcelona, and so on, and you have only the difficulty at your work, that is the technical stuff, at least in my case, it wasn't enough. So I wanted to have additional challenges. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. Good advice. And we finished the interview with 3 quick questions with also 3 quick answers. one is your favorite local food. In your case, from all of the countries you've visited. So, UK?
Chicken tikka masala.
That was it. No need to say anything else. Good one. Okay, Czech Republic?
I don't remember how it's called, but I love the duck, how they do it. It was amazing. Yeah.
Duck. Okay.
Yeah.
Then Belgium?
How is called this? The carbonat flamand.
The carbonat, yeah.
Ouais.
It is also my favorite one from Belgium.
Yeah.
And then from Switzerland?
Fondue, let's say.
Fondue.
Yeah.
Cool. Then one book that you recommend, and it can be any topic.
Yeah, the one I loved and I currently love is The Art of the War.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Yeah.
The Art of War. I don't remember the author.
Yes, it has...
But it's super famous, yeah.
thousands of years and so on. I really like it. My sister gave it to me once, and I read it many, many times. The version I have is very small, and I love it.
It's full of good quotes. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And the last one is the best advice that you have ever received.
I would say that it's the best, but as well the worst. And it's never settle. So it's true that it's forcing me to move, to learn, to experience, but at the end is sometimes if you don't manage carefully, it's very stressful.
You're always unsatisfied.
Exactly. And it's very difficult. In my experience, now I'm more relaxed, but in the past, was trying to read in as much as I can, learning as much as I can. At work it wasn't enough. I want additional challenge. So it's quite being careful with this one.
It's good if you take it with care, as you said.
Yes.
And also if you enjoy the process.
Yes.
So if you're always looking for what's next, you miss life, basically.
Yeah.
Always looking
Yes.
for what's next.
Yeah.
But if you enjoy the process, it's a good challenge. It's a good way
Yeah.
of improving every day.
Yeah.
Good. Carlos, it was a pleasure to have you in the podcast.
Mine. Yeah. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.